10 out of 10.
Hey, Silas Speaks is in the room. Hi, Silas
wonderful.
Speaks.
Hello. How's it going?
Hey, fantastic. Wonderful to hear your dulcet Scottish brogue. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I saw that you posted an interesting thing on the Fakeologist Discord. Is that one of your new productions?
Yeah, that'll be a multi-part documentary series on the Amorites or Babylonians and the origins of the conspiracy. Yeah. I'm going to develop into a book as well. So,
are you listen to Bill Cooper's series on Babylonian, Mystery Babylon? Have you taken any inspiration from Bill Cooper?
No, not exactly, but it ties in with that. It ties in with that. The Amorites destroyed the Akkadian and Neo-Sumerian empires in a very similar way to how the later Hyksos, who invaded Egypt, destroyed Upper Egypt, or almost destroyed the Egyptians. And then obviously the later conspiracy, as we see it today, and the modus operandi they use: inflation, mass migration, androgyny is another one. But I'll deal with androgyny in probably its own video. Because
so even by official historians, most great civilizations, the very last thing is androgyny.
Yes. Yep.
It's hard to believe.
And that was
so it's nothing new. What we're going through today is from the old days. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a completely reproduced playbook using numbers and dates and stars.
There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing.
And that's what the saying is. That whoever came up with that saying back in the day was, whether they knew it or not, that's exactly the truth. So they use these playbooks and same stories. That's why I say that Kennedy, what would you call it? It was just exactly the same as the Lincoln.
The decapitation of the king.
Yeah, regicide. And so they had Lincoln. But before Lincoln, you would find in England or France, there was this exact same scenario of a very popular leader getting shot or killed, a bow and arrow, or whatever they used to kill him. But they had multiple suspicions of who that was put to the public for 30 or 60 years, who to blame. So it ties up all the good thinkers and all the people that have got.
It's always a bit, I just heard today by Michael Ribeiro, who was saying that the American Revolution wasn't really about the tea tax. It was really that the king was forcing the colonies to use the paper pound, and they couldn't use their own money system. He was making them exchange whatever they were using for exchange. So back to the banks again. You challenge the banking system, you die.
Also,
Silas, where do you get your? What's your main source? Where do you, when you're deciding to do a show on whatever? Are you digging out old books, or are you finding? A
lot of it is old books. So on the Amorites, lot of the books that I had were I paid an arm and a leg for them. Some of them you couldn't even get in PDF form. But they go all the way back to the early 1900s, late 1800s. I think the oldest one is probably 1950. So, and that's called Who Were the Amorites? And there's some seriously interesting information on that you won't find obviously on Wikipedia or of course anywhere else that they've omitted for obvious reasons. But yeah, also in the banking, the sort of financier class, the merchant class, even maritime law, which ties in with that, which arguably is Venetian contract law. It's just a modified form. But I've actually, in another book that I'm sort of going to be releasing maybe 3 books in quick succession. And that'll be after the new year. But it details the entire origins of the conspiracy from what I've gleaned. But you can trace the financier class, the major houses of finance, back to two Neo-Babylonian financial houses called House Agibi and House Marashu. Now, they started off controlling the agriculture, controlling the canals. They were canal masters, and they also played the middlemen. So what would happen was they would have agricultural tools that they would lend to people, rent out to people, right? And in that way, they could control the agriculture, control the food, and then later on, they managed to develop a control of the mines, the bullion, the gold, the silver. They also were bronze traders as well, so they used all of that to create the first fiat currency in the Neo-Babylonian Empire by basically storing silver and gold and providing a receipt, which wasn't paper money, but bronze coinage, worthless bronze coinage. So they developed all of this. And then they managed to, it seems off the books, they developed trade routes with a city called Susa, which was close to Babylon. It was to the east. That was called the gateway to India. And they developed the first, what could be called international trade or credit system surrounding international trade. So they would be, again, the middlemen between, say, trade between Babylon, Susa, and India. And they basically a system of IOUs, right? Credit. They would facilitate international trade. So all of this is where it developed. Yeah.
The money system.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Did you see that Bill guy? There's Bill somebody's History of Money. Did you see that?
No.
I have, yeah, no. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Bill Maloney. Bill Maloney, yeah.
I can't remember his last name, but there's some guy who did the History of Money. Maybe many people have done that type of movie, the History of Money, because it's so important.
Yeah. Well, money and trade. So humanity had one common thing. It was have your own house, reproduce, have a wife, do this, do that, have a job to provide for your spouse. This can't have been a thing that's just appeared in the last 200 years. I'd say that's been a thing from many years. Or you lived in a village that everyone provided with each other, and you married and looked after and had stocks, and you trade butter for something or other, or timber for whatever. This, when it became lots of individual little places, little townships, little kingdoms or fiefdoms, so England, let's look at England, for instance. The place back in the day, all those areas that are now empty were absolutely little tiny kingdoms or towns that had people that lived, and same with what's that country that America went and carpet bombed, and Bill Clinton went in there in the 90s, not Ukraine, basically anywhere that had individuals living in villages like Vietnam, but basically I think anywhere back 300 or 400 years ago, there were lots more small individual little towns that just existed. They didn't need the money system. They had the ability to trade their own stock and fruit and vegetables with each other and share their produce. They didn't need a great big controller to come in there and tell them that this is worth nothing and that's worth nothing and you've got to do this and this is your education system now. That all started happening, I'd say, 250, 300 years ago, maybe before, I'm not sure, but you've got Rockefeller Inc. doing it in America from 200 plus years ago, destroying small towns and turning them into bigger factory towns and removing all the people to come work for half, whatever they were getting paid. So it's an ancient system to destroy individualism, I think. Is that a good way of explaining it? And when I say individualism, I just mean a family subsisting on the land with their own beliefs and their own culture, they don't want that. They want one big culture, and that seems to be the end.
A monoculture.
A monoculture.
Monoculture. Yeah. Fantastic. Keep talking, Silas Speaks.
Go ahead, Silas. You can talk. You can. Don't feel that you can't. You have to wait till Rick to end because you won't find that.
Oh no, not at all. Something interesting as well for the JFK hit or assassination. That entire Dealey Plaza is in the shape of the Greek letter Psi, in which, if you go back, that links to the Shin. You go even further back, that links to Poseidon's trident, and also Shiva's Trishula, or trident, just an Indian name for it.
Yeah,
you see that.
We've said that.
You see the Tradic hand claw everywhere.
You saw it on the Twin Towers.
Yeah, it was on the gardens up the top.
No, I thought it was part of the metal facade of the towers.
Yeah,
was it not?
The facade, the steel and concrete beams going up the shape of it was in the Shin. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously it collapsed. So those two pillars or two arms collapsed. And then up came the One World Trade Center, which I believe it was essentially an 8-sided building, I believe, and it had interlocking triangles together, which would form, in Kabbalah, the sort of what one would call the Magen David, or the Star of David. Again, the union of, and you see this with the Freemason sigil.
At the 6 point
exact same logo, same logo. Star of David and
absolutely.
The Freemason. Yeah.
Thelema as well is a similar logo. Interestingly, I believe Theosophy has some similar logos along with that. Yeah, it's the same logo. It's in essence the great work, the magnum opus, the idea of the year 6000 as it appears in Kabbalah. The idea that the UN shall in essence develop a world dominion. At the head of this world dominion will be a world sovereign, right? I mean, it goes by many names throughout the various literature, both esoteric and exoteric. You could call it the Moshiach, the Messiah. I mean, even the return of the Christ, right? It's a similar concept. Another concept would be...
Oh, no. The other day, I was looking at this. This is the latest New Dawn magazine. And they had Daniel Estulin, the author that wrote the book on Tavistock, the mind control organization. And they had the logo, or what do you call it when you've got like a family, you have that thing with your logo might be two sheep and a cat or whatever, you've got your
clan
logo. A clan, yeah. And the cover of the book has Tavistock's original crest, the crest of Tavistock. And it's basically an owl on each side. With an owl at the very top, you can see another owl. In the center is a sheep that's got its neck broken, dangling down on a chain. So it's a dead sheep with two owls on either side. But that's not what stood out to me. I was looking at the owls' faces, and I suddenly saw something that I've been querying for a long time. Why is that particular logo a big thing? But it's on the owl's horn-rimmed face. It has what looks like a seagull flying towards you that forms a kind of a bird flying towards you. On both owls have got that imagery. And that is identical to Mazda, the car company, that has that same kind of logo. It looks like a bird flying
like
towards
a seagull.
you.
Yeah, it looks like a seagull, yeah.
It looks like a seagull. So John, I do, yeah. So, but Mazda was the ancient symbol for like a god of light. Its arch enemy was Ahriman, I think, the god of darkness. So Tavistock's logo has these owls, but in that owl's face is the Mazda logo on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
And it suddenly it made me realise, this is one of my favourite things to talk about. Well, I've got a lot of favourite things to talk about, but car logos are so important, because when you're driving, you're getting infected, and I say infected, with subconscious ancient symbols. You've got Kia, the car Kia, which is basically 11-9 with it looks like a, but it's actually two towers crashing into each other, forming a pyramid. But they're definitely two different shapes. That one pyramid, one tower stands out a little bit further than the other. So Kia is a very powerful symbol. They're in your face all the time. All of Toyota's symbols are really powerful. You've basically got a Saturn logo with an all-seeing eye on the latest Toyota logo, which to me, when I first saw it, I thought that doesn't look anything like a T, but it's not. It's an all-seeing eye with another circle underneath it. I just completely see that we're being controlled with the same mechanisms that they've done all their successful resets for the last, I don't know how many. It could be 1,000 years. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I totally agree. Funnily enough, as well, with the owls, that goes all the way back to Acadia, Sumeria, and obviously the Amorites, who were the Babylonians. So the owl.
And these owls?
If we're familiar with the term Zozo, so that derives from Anzu, which is the heavenly bird, which is essentially the Akkadian, Sumerian, and Amorite Babylonian equivalent of Lucifer or Prometheus. I believe I've spoken
you see
about
Zozo. If you look at Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven album, you've got Zozo. That was Jimmy Page chose that logo for the drummer.
Where did Jimmy Page learn all this stuff? Where do people learn all this stuff? Where did he get all that?
Jimmy Page is a Crowley devotee of the highest magnitude.
Oh,
He actually bought Crowley's house in Scotland back in the day, and owned it for quite a few years.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
But Zozo also, to me, looks like 2020. 2020, it's got that kind of 2020 kind of...
Absolutely.
Like, yeah. Keep going. This is fantastic.
Absolutely. Essentially, that entire story is the Anzu, or the heavenly owl, stealing from the gods. I believe later on, primarily Marduk. He steals, or she steals, the Tablet of Destinies, which is... It permits the gods to see into the future, to determine the future, a bit like the Norns of fate, right? And the threadbearers of fate, those who weave the future. So this is why potentially it's linked to wisdom. But you obviously see in Bohemian Grove, that's all owls. You see in there, it's an owl as well. But interestingly, within the Egyptian hieroglyphs, within the hieroglyphic system, the owl produces the sound of an M. Of course, we've just been discussing the Shin hand sign, the tradic.
After the break. Sorry, hold on.
After the break.
Hi, this is Heroes.
Purple Plate.
Fluidic Luna.
Really quick. Geostarian.
Bioptica. For science.
You're listening to Fakeologist Radio at fakeologist.com.
You're listening to Rick, Ab, and Silas Speaks, being very esoteric.
Silas Speaks and Rick Eats on December 10th. Go ahead, Silas.
So
December 10th, 2023.
So the owl within hieroglyphs produces the sound of the M. Now, of course, we were just discussing the Shin hand sign, or the Psi letter, or again, like the trident, this sort of M shape. Interestingly, you see that at the end of Fight Club, where they both join hands and watch everything collapse. Now, what does that mean? What is that? That is essentially what's called in statistics a bimodal distribution. It's similar in genetics to a genetic bottleneck, right? A harvest, a cull, death, the collection of the excess surplus. So inevitably, when you boil all of it down, all of the symbolism down, even with the Tavistock, you see the lamb or the sheep in chains, right?
Yeah.
That is multiple
chains hanging up with its neck broken. Neck broken by the look of it. Yeah.
Absolutely, that could be interpreted almost definitely as the people, the sheep, being contained in chains, their necks broken, potentially severing the spinal column, thus severing the source of what would be in symbolism, the serpent of wisdom, that which connects the body to the mind, and obviously the mind to the higher essence, right? Furthermore, as well, the lamb can be associated with the Christ figure, the Savior figure, or the Son of Man concept.
It's full. The Bible is full of lamb, and isn't it strange that Crowley's mentor became speaking to him via LAM?
Oh yeah.
That's just a coincidence, of course. I would say just a coincidence, but keep going. Sorry to interrupt, but I just had to mention that.
Oh no, you're totally correct. You had the lamb, which looked uncannily like a grey alien, or the later grey alien.
Exactly like a later grey alien. Yeah, as a person that got sucked into the whole UFO culture, and I was part of it almost from the 70s to the probably mid 80s. It's an incredibly powerful logo, and then you had the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind using the exact same imagery, and the front cover of Whitley Strieber, a man who went to London School of Economics, and his backstory does not make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And his books, the same exact face that you saw as Lamb had, as Crowley drew on his, bar coaster or bear coaster or whatever he drew, the face of Lamb. Anyway, you keep going because I'll just butt in everything.
No, it's okay. I was also going to mention as well, so the M is the 13th letter. So in the tarot card, the 13th card is death. Now, death isn't an end to life or a cessation of it, though it may appear that way. Within the esoteric, it's seen as a transmutation of perception. So it's a different point of perception and what have you. But death is sort of seen as a collector rather than a terminator, if you will. But anyway, you see within the Tavistock crest as well, the blue and yellow ribbon at the top. So it's flanked by these two owls, which are the symbols of death, really, as we've just mentioned. The blue and the yellow, mix that together, it creates green. Green is the colour within the esoteric of death, of unripeness. That's why the colour of
death is green. Yeah, when you die, and green. You're right. Green. So money is green, and when you die, you turn green.
You turn green? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, gangrenous. When something's diseased.
Gangrenous. Funny that. And there's green is gangrenous.
Gangrene.
Funny that.
Gangrene.
Excellent research here. You keep.
There was also some. Two more points I was going to mention. So right at the bottom, the Latin, I believe, is pro rege et rege, so or leke.
I couldn't read it. So
I believe
tell me what it says.
For the king, and I'm unsure of the last word, but it's for the king and something else. But yeah, so that creates the green. You also see the 3-5 stars, which obviously equates to 15, or adds to 15, it multiplies to 15 rather.
That's right. There's three stars above the owls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
3 5-pointed stars.
Or they're right at the sort of eye level of the owls, and that is 15 within Hebrew. That is you say 15 by saying Yah, right? So you get into this idea of Yah, Yahweh, all of that.
Yahweh.
of course, the chains as well that are interlinked, that establishes the 8, the perpetual enslavement of the sheep below. The circles as well, of course.
8 is eternity, isn't it? 8 eternity on.
Yes, yeah, it is. It can also be connected to the ancient, what's called the Aeonic loop, which in essence symbolically goes all the way back to God, the beginning, the the perpetual cycle of pre-beginning, separating into beginning and end, and what have you, all of this. But the circles as well within the Masonic terminology of their symbolism. The circle is heavenly and the square is earthly or terrestrial. That's why, of course, within the Masonic sigil, you see above the square, which obviously is used to measure the right angles of a cube or even of a square. That is below the compass, which is used to measure, again, the circle, right? So it's
fantastic.
It's pretty much all included.
Can you believe, as you just said then, guess what just flew up? An owl.
Oh, really?
Incredible. Because they don't make any, can I just tell you this? They make no sound when they fly. They just arrive and they sit there looking, and I've had one follow me around every now and then, and they take off, and it's just this, there's no sound whatsoever, and they've got incredible wingspan.
Yeah.
They fly silently, and that's why the ancients obviously use them as the silent observer. You don't know you're being looked at, but the owl is watching you.
Well, there's another
owl is out.
So sorry to interject. There's another reason as well they were used for a heavenly symbol, and that's because their necks have a 360. They have the ability to turn their heads in almost a 360 direction. So that attaches to the circle, which is the heavenly shape, right? And of course as well,
it's like the panopticon of bird neck. They can spin around and do whatever they want.
But also, you see on the owls as well. They're in the sort of triune shape, right? There's a trinity to them. Again, the shin. But you see on the two at the either side, there is I believe it's a crown, but it's a crown that's in the shape of, again, a sort of trishula or trident or shin shape, that M shape.
It's a trident shape. It's an M shape, and that's what I was saying about the Mazda logo is the horn-rimmed glasses. If you look at horn-rimmed glass, identical.
Even
very
the owl,
much from the owl.
Even the owl, the ears of the owl, along with the crown, creates that shape as well. But again, that's going, as you see, for the king. What does that mean? Do they mean for the English king, or the British king rather? No, they mean for the king to come. Yeah, the king of the earth, the sovereign lord that they're going to impose at the top of the New World Order. That's what it's for.
Yeah. You know that the United Nations have and I think it's fairly open secret, but they keep a empty chair in their grand meeting room for the sovereign king that come back and sit at. But it's not who the Christians would kind of say would be the. I do believe it's for someone else to come back, the king of the earth, the ruler of the planet, the lord of this world.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So keep knocking it out because you're doing good stuff.
Well, even within the UN, within their art collection, they have in the front of the UN, dotted around the UN's land in New York. There, you have this idea of beating the weapons into plowshares, which is very synonymous again with this Kabbalistic idea of this year 6000. Right, this is the latest point, according to the Masoretic texts and the exoteric view within Abrahamism and other such faiths, the Baha'i faith, where the Messiah or the Moshiach, the sovereign Lord, will come back. But within the Kabbalah, they state that the Moshiach, or the sovereign Lord of the world, will come at the year 6000. He will return at the year 6000 or appear. So this idea of beating the weapons into plowshares is one of the major ideas of the Messianic age. And what does that mean? It means disarming the populace, beating all the weapons into plowshares, including, that's metaphorical, meaning their mind as well, that they become total workers, perpetual workers of beasts of the field, if you will, right? But of course, it's worded in such a way that people believe, oh, this is great, that means world peace, you know?
Yeah, what about the logo for the, at the building that has the Fabian building? The Fabians, they had. No, they've got a logo of two guys beating something into it with sledgehammers. Basically, I can't remember who it is. It could be two famous politicians or icons or whatever. But the Fabian logo does definitely have two people beating with sledgehammers on their glass build tower that they've got in London somewhere. So that's 100% what you just said there.
I have to look that one up. Hey, Frank is here. Hey, Frank. You can unmute if you want to say hi.
Hello.
Hello, Frank, the Salt Man. How wonderful to hear your dulcet.
Say hi to Silas.
How are you, Silas?
I'm good, Frank. How's you?
I never claimed to be good, but I am well. Thank you.
Good answer.
Great conversation here, Frank. Great conversation.
I've been listening intently.
High level ezo and exoteric conversation.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Silas, at only 27, and I assume you're still 27, you haven't turned 28 yet, is what I would call like Rain Man was a
I say you're saying he's an autistic savant, are you?
He is he's an exoteric savant. He knows more stuff than most people at his age should know, because
by far
you can either
at any age
have an understanding. You can have an understanding of the stuff, or you can actually spout forth with actual historic truth. And he's doing fantastic. And all I can do is just bump in every now and then, interrupt with something kind of random. But I'm really enjoying it. So keep spouting forth with your
And how do you feel about this high praise from the world's most famous conspiracy theorist?
Conspiracy theorist.
I don't know.
I'm in awe. I don't know. But, back in the day when I was probably his age, I knew things that I could not have conversations with people my own age. I just, even from my teens, I always got on with people at least 10 years older than me to have a normal conversation. Some people move further on with their intellect, and I think Silas has definitely picked up on that and is absorbing via the great word osmosis, truth, and his ability to be able to absorb and spout it back again. That's a different technique as well. To be able to tell people what you've learned, that's a skill in itself. Keep talking, and I'm very interested. Very interested.
It's interesting as well, the Fabian logo. I know what you're talking about. It's built into the architecture of one of their major headquarters. I believe it's down in London. Yeah,
it's in London.
Yeah, that's exactly what
they're bashing the world. They're bashing the world into shape with hammers.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's equating to that idea that's found within the Old Testament. Of course, it's expanded upon in a sort of what's called in Hebrew.
I thought the logo was a wolf in sheep's clothing.
That's another one.
Yeah, it's the.
They've got a couple.
It's the black wolf climbing, I believe, a tree with the white wolf on its back. But that tree, you could understand that from Genesis as the tree of life. So, of course, when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden, right, they ate from the tree they ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? Again, there's that sort of dualism, that twin, right? Those two pillars. And then they weren't allowed back in. They weren't allowed entry again back into the Garden of Eden, which was, I believe, it was guarded by a cherubim with a flaming sword, or some of the Hebrew translations are different.
Lest they become like us. Who was us?
Oh, sorry, Frank, I never heard you there.
I said...
No, but cherubim and flaming sword.
Lest they become like us.
Lest they become like us, yeah. That's exactly the same, yeah. Us, the sort of... well, you can understand that in many ways. I mean, Elohim is obviously the plural, right? So, again, it gets into what is the nature of God? What is the nature of the divine? Is it multifaceted, or does it have unity in its sort of multitude, if that makes sense, right? Does it have unity in its multitude? So, yeah, but the crux of it is them attempting to climb the tree of life to become immortal, to become the Homo Deus, as Harari states, the God-man. I mean, Harari states in his work, the 21 lessons for the 21st century, and nobody believes me here until they read it on page 57, I think, right? Where he literally states the rich and the poor will have a biological divide in the coming decades and centuries. The rich will literally become, because of biodigital implantation, they will become immortal. He literally uses that word. And I mean...
When did he write that?
And the Bible says that they will see death. But shall not.
Yeah. When did he write that about the what you said then?
That came out after Homo Deus.
Is that Homo Deus? Yeah,
that came out after the 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. That's sort of a supplementary book to Homo Deus, but it came out after. So I believe that came out in 2018, 2019. But all of his books were written just prior to, obviously, the
I think you've got the name of your next hit, your next big hit in the musical world, Silas.
What's that?
Amadeus, Amadeus, Amadeus.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of songs there, Frank. You've got Amadeus. You got Amadeus and Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody mixed up there. You know, I have to say this. I'll just butt in here again. They asked Freddie Mercury again. Look, I'll just go. Right, I'm going to change this 100%. But the members of Queen, you had Freddie Mercury, which is the messenger, right? You had Brian May, and May is the Maypole, the very important esoteric date. And then you had Taylor, which is Tyler, basically, which is another Masonic medal. But the one that gave it away for me was the bass player, who had his
after the break.
Listening to Rick.
We'll have to wait.
Talking about rubbish.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hi, this is Top Notch Energies from Florida, and you're listening to Fakeologist Audio Chat on Fakeologist.com.
Nice.
This is Rick and Ab and Frank and Silas Speaks, talking esotericism of a level that you're not going to get out on many shows, are guaranteed. And trust me, I listen to a lot of them. But yeah, Junior, what's his name? The bass player from Queen is J.R. something or other. Look, I'm sorry.
I don't know Queen. I don't know.
Look, put it this way. When I first tumbled on this, and I was thinking about, Mercury, May, Tyler, and I was looking at the bass player's name, and I thought, his name's Deacon. So his name's John Deacon. I thought surely his middle name's not going to be Roger or what, because I knew that Junior Deacon is a very, very, very high-level Masonic medal. And yes, it is J.R. Deacon. His name is Junior Deacon or J.R. Deacon. So their entire band, the entire band of Queen, and that's another, they're basically promoting Queen as a, the whole royal family as a likable rock band. But each member of them have a very suspicious number and name. And I started querying everything, and I started going, so, are these people, were they pre-named, or they got fake names? Were they actually named that? Like, so is John Deacon's name really Roger and Junior Deacon? Look up the Masonic medals and you'll see almost everything that Queen has is a Masonic named band. So are they faking their names? I'm of a level now. I don't know.
Freddie Mercury is fake. We know that. That's a fake name.
Mercury was, but he picked the name. He picks Mercury as a name, and I mentioned it before.
The deceiver, isn't it? The messenger god, the deceiver.
The messenger. Yeah. He is basically it's a very Luciferian. Mercury is a deceiver, and the messenger.
Mercury's the most toxic metal on Earth, isn't it?
The most poisonous thing you can have stuck in your mouth, and that's what they did to us,
or in your arm.
The dental system.
Radioactive plutonium was the killer in Manila.
Well, it could well be, Frank, but mercury in the mouth.
And I think that's made up.
I do too.
And
it's a load of polonium.
Polonium's in cigarette tobacco apparently too, Frank. But there's 1 point something amounts of polonium. 5. A load of. Very well done. 10 out of 10. Good, very witty reply. No, I was just going to say that the amount of what we would call at this metascript level of, we got IPS knocking out stuff, we got stuff, what we're talking about tonight. There are so many out there things, especially when you got Silas Speaks talking about, ancient days of a metascript, of a script, but it seems to all fit in with what we're going through. And the fact that Mercury is, probably one of the most dangerous things you can have stuck into your arm, be told. I agree with that. I've got no problem that Mercury is a toxin. If you listen to, and Silas, I don't know if you have, but I would recommend you go into look at Jan Irvin's research up until, and I'm saying this, up until about 3 years ago when something happened to him, and go back and listen to some of his research on the subject of ancient history and the trivium, quadrivium, blah, 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 blah. He was really knocking out some awesome stuff. And it's like someone's either told him to shut the fuck up, but he's not saying what he used to say anymore. And I think you'd learn some interesting things on there. I'll shut up and you can keep talking.
I was just going to mention as well, Mercury is a god of commerce. So you see within the medical system, they don't use, in America at least, they don't use the staff of Asclepius anymore. They use which was always the traditional symbol.
They've changed it. They've changed it to the commerce logo. It's not the same logo. Pole, it's a different logo, I believe.
Isn't Mercury the symbol that's used in the American Express symbol?
Yes.
Yeah, probably is.
Hermes, yeah, which is the Greek equivalent, yeah, that the winged hat, absolutely.
Did you hear my latest prediction? You probably didn't. About an hour and a half ago.
I'm still congratulating you on terminating the Queensland Premier's position.
Well, Frank, I can only say
you can shape the world. What else can you do with your powerful words?
I can only say, Frank, I can only say that I am directly responsible for Anastasia Pellish resigning her position this morning after she listened to the Fakeologist radio, fakeologist.com, Rick Talk with Frank and Ab show. She resigned the next day because I said she's the only person with a dripping needle in her right hand that hasn't resigned her position. I said it about 8:30 last night. And at 9:30 this morning, she resigned her position as leader.
I released the show last night.
Frank, sorry, Ab. Frank, I'm kind of joking, but not joking.
Why are you
very
joking?
coincidence.
Why don't you think? I don't think it's. I think it's. What other explanation is there?
Well, it's coincidental that she resigned after I said she's the only single leader of the COVID scam. Still,
all the single leaders.
Anyway,
all the single leaders.
She's gone. She's gone. She's gone. She's not. She's now resigned. And could it be from Fakeologist.com?
Tyrant.
Yeah, and you know it, Ed. You know it. It's going to be someone worse. Anyway, sorry, Silas. Can you keep speaking? I'm sorry for interrupting with my constant interruption.
No, you're not. You're not interrupting at all. No. I was just going to mention as well, within even the Leontocephaline, which is a ancient Gnostic symbol for the Hierophant, or you can also see it as the Abraxas, as the Demiurge, right? But in Chinese,
we're going to Gnostic. We're going to Gnostic talking Gnostic teachings here, right? With the Demiurge and etc. Yep.
Yes, but you'll always see on the Leontocephaline, you'll always see those intertwined waves. Again, a bit like the staff of Mercury or Hermes, very similar. And that in the Chinese astrology astrological system, Mercury actually represents water. So water is a very even in the Babylonian astrology, which we use, it's a mutable characteristic, some mutable element. It's in constant, unpredictable, constantly changing. So and obviously it's the messenger of the gods, which is associated with the nervous system, the brain, all of this, the sense organs. Sorry
to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. But I talked about this about an hour and a half ago. One of my clients has a large building in Sydney, and one of their people that rent it are what would you call it? They're a business that does not graphic design, and they do internal. They do the internals of buildings. So they're a whatever that
interior
that's
designer.
Called, whatever that. They're
interior designer.
So their main client is Hermes from France, and that's this is a really high. No, Hermes does fashion, interior design. They do furniture. They do all sorts of things, perfumes. Anyway, last night I'd spotted their thing. They had a calendar on their wall, and it said 24. Actually, I read it before. I'll see if I can find what it said. Anyway, they got a really strange logo underneath their logo. And I was roaming around Sydney yesterday before I got on the train up here, and I spotted the same Hermes symbol on big billboards, and it's got 24. It's the new something or other. Like, there's a really cryptic message, and I'm suggesting there's something going to happen via Hermes being the messenger, that their new adverts they've got everywhere. And I have to go down. Sorry, I'll go and find what I actually what it was I'm talking about here, because I wrote it down. And
are you making a prediction, Rick?
Well, Hermes seems to be doing that. Like, I can't understand their message. This is a multi-billion-dollar company, And for some reason, they've got this really cryptic message on their new calendars everywhere that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I've got little stuff written down, Diablo, where's the Hermes one? So basically it says 24, something about 24 is going to be the new excitement or whatever. There's something they seem to be saying cryptically on their adverts. You'll be able to go Google this. Just look up Hermes 24. And these are on big, expensive billboards. These are on their calendars. They're everywhere. And just remember, as Silas Speaks understands, Hermes is an extremely, extremely important deity to this kind of black nobility out there. He's a messenger. It's Mercury. It's everything. It's incredible. But the fact that they've got these cryptic messages on billboards everywhere in Sydney, so I'm suggesting there's something happening on the 24th of December, possibly. I don't want to be quoted on this, but there's something 24.
Santa.
So it says number 24 puts on a show. That's that's the logo on all these giant adverts. Number 24 puts on a show. Now, can you explain to me why you would spend, with a company with that much money, would spend that much money on telling you that 24 puts on a show? I mean, what does that mean? I don't know what it means. I just know that it means something. But that's on billboards through Sydney, and these are expensive areas that I'm talking about that have got this advert. Yes, I sound like a lunatic. And yes, I could.
24 hours in a day. Is anything to relate to that?
It says number 24 puts on a show, and it's on. It doesn't make, to me, if you're spending all that money on a giant company, you'd put a message that actually makes sense to the public. But I'm walking around and looking at this
too
message
cryptic.
Going.
So you're asking Silas, what do you say? Is there anything about that that you can lend?
Number 24 puts on a show.
Can you help us?
What is that? Why would they use that? No, I don't expect them to be able to do that, but I want to know why a $1 billion company would be putting that on every billboard all throughout whatever. I'm just kind of predicting IPS something's going down with this.
Is Elvis going to jump off the Space Needle in Seattle? Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Let's tie everything together.
If it happens, it happens.
Let's tie it all together.
Anyway, Silas, keep speaking. I'm going to disappear.
24 is the number of books within the official Masoretic texts of the Old Testament. And 24, of course, is double 12, which obviously 12 is the number of signs within the Babylonian astrological chart. So
I thought there was 13 in reality. Did you ever hear that idea?
Yeah, well, 13, I've always thought of 13 as being the central point of which all of the other the signs or archetypes emanate out from or radiate out from. So I have always thought of it like that. That's probably another reason 13 is the number of death, because death goes back to the center. It's a centripetal force. It collects you back to the center of it all, you know.
Is that why McDonald's is McDonald's?
Sorry, Rick, say that again.
What's your theory on the golden arches of McDonald's, the logo of McDonald's? It's a trident upside down.
Oh, it's the shin. It's the shin, yeah.
Okay,
it's the shin.
It's the shin, yeah.
Yeah.
And notice Woolworths, our biggest grocery shopping place over here, has basically the upside down version of that. It's the W upside down.
Well, the golden arch as well, of course, red and yellow combined creates that sort of orange colour, which could be symbolic of the dusk, and it could also be symbolic of the dawn, right? Similar concepts. Of course, that links with Venus. Now, Venus isn't this nice... Yes, it's the morning and evening star. So it's this
evening
idea
star.
of...
It's true, that's true, it is. How does it become morning and evening star? If it rises at a certain time, it could be deemed evening. But you're right. It's
Oh no, it is very strange, absolutely. But the ancients saw this and they tied it in with the concept that the beginning is the end. We have it within sort of Christian or Judeo-Christian ideas, such as we conceive it as the idea of the Alpha and Omega, right? That God is the Alpha and Omega. But anyway, Venus within the Hindu tradition was the one who mentored the Asuras, which is where, in essence, this conspiracy began. This conspiracy began with a merchant class from the Indus Valley civilization, which I'll detail in another book, who worshipped the Asuras. Now, who are the Asuras? It literally means, in the Indo-European language, roughly prince or principality. So again, it's similar to that concept. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities, right? Against the Asuras, it would seem.
Yeah. So, and Ab, are you listening? This is what Joe Atwell's show's called, Powers and Principalities. If you're listening, but he's probably muted, but hopefully you mentioned that to Joe Atwell, who does a show with Tim Kelly called Powers and Principalities. Sorry, I have to interrupt there.
No, it's fine. Well, that also took on you had Zoroastrianism appeared as well, and there seems to be a reversal of the Devas and the Asuras. But anyway, within the Hindu tradition, the Asuras are the chaotic force. They're the force that fights against God, right? Again, like we were just talking about, they're attempting to climb the tree of life, become like God. They were like Adam and Eve, and the serpents were ousted from the Garden of Eden. They were the Asuras were ousted or fell from the Sumeru, right? Mount Meru.
Do you think there's a tie in there with what's his name? Who said one of the very, very, very esoteric Newton fall on his head, and that was the kind of mantra why gravity.
Oh, yeah.
So the fall of the apple created the knowledge to Newton that there was gravity. There's got to be a kind of archaic.
That's a kooky story.
It's a kooky story, but that's the official narrative. Ad.
No, it's an official story.
I'm saying what Silas just said kind of made me go, that sounds like the apple falling on the head, the fall as being
or Satan.
By the way, Joseph Atwell's on my show tonight at 4:30 p.m.
That's what I just said, Ab. I just said that Powers and Principalities is the name of his show that he has with Tim Kelly. And what Silas just said in the last 3 or 4 minutes kind of blends in with that.
Okay. Hopefully I'll ask him some good questions.
Well, that idea as well of falling or falling from heaven, as we see with the Asuras falling from, the heavens or Mount Meru or Sumeru, that also ties in with, Lucifer or Satan, or in the Kabbalah or the Book of Enoch, Samyaza fallen from heaven as well. He began as a sort of a lord of rebellion. Of course, though, this is the interesting thing. So this is where I make the differentiation between God and the Lord, or God and the Asura, or whatever terminology we want to use, or God and Satan. That
after the break.
We're just after the break.
And Wild Times is in the room too.
They guided me with psyops.
Psychological operations.
They guided me with psyops. They weaponized psychology.
You're listening to another hour of Fakeologist Radio on Fakeologist.com.
You're listening to Rick App and Silas Speaks. Frank announced himself today. I think may have just bowed out, and I think Walter. You're listening to 10th of December 2023. And I'm talking about, I have to say that there's some incredible information getting bat out on this show. So Silas Speaks, you can keep babbling away on Babylon and be told it's good stuff.
So this idea of fallen from heaven, so you have Lucifer, Satan, in the Book of Enoch, Samyaza. Now it's stated within the Book of Enoch, and also this appears in the Zohar, the Kabbalah, that Samyaza began all secret societies. All secret societies began with him, where he and I believe another, it was either 200 or 300 angels who also fell from heaven, began a secret society there, where they all took oaths of, blood oaths of death to maintain secrecy and to take over the world. And of course, within the Bible, the New Testament, I believe it's Jesus states that Satan is the god of this world, or the prince of this world, depending upon
Lord of this world.
Lord of this world,
Lord or God. Yeah.
Well, this ties into the Trishula, the trident, the shin shape, even as we see in Dealey Plaza, the psi letter of the Greeks.
Oh, it's everywhere. Look, it's everywhere. Everywhere. It's
absolutely.
Every logo. Incredible. I mean, it's like, I think Napoleon on Fakeologist.com, he's on
Fakeologist.blog.
.blog. He was on about the trident. I mean, it really is, and we're talking about serious amounts of trident logos everywhere.
This is where London. It connects. See this Lord of the Earth character. Interestingly, Poseidon or Neptune has he has a trident as well, of course. Now, of course, this ties in with Atlantis, because at the center of Atlantis was the temple to Poseidon, right? Now, what does this all mean? Poseidon literally translates from ancient Greek, and this will be sort of antithetical to any ideas that we had of Poseidon. It translates as Lord of the Earth. Lord of the Earth, right? Now, of course, he's associated with water and everything. That's probably metaphorical, that he's a sort of Lord of Chaos. Again, as we've mentioned with Mercury, water is this element it's mutable, it's inconstant, it's chaotic.
Like
right?
Loki, same thing. Trickery and
So this is what this
sound effect when you said water. Poured water. I love
it. I'm so sorry for being a realist.
All right, it's good. You have to eat and drink.
Yeah, that's true. Well, when you're talking for 4 hours, Ab, or 2 hours, 2 hours or 3 hours, but
you can't talk.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, so when you got someone like Silas Speaks that's spitting out incredible,
he's
esoteric.
He's right up your alley.
Incredible esoteric. Oh yeah, absolutely. This is what you call the esoteric, the proper esoteric, the hidden knowledge that most people, love to hear, like a Marvel version of esotericism. But when you understand real esotericism, you actually go, actually, this Marvel comic actually is fairly accurate to what they actually were doing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, whoever knows.
So I thought the comics were making all these stories up, but they're all from ancient stories.
100% accurate. So Jack Kirby and the guys that created Marvel and DC, there's nothing that they've done, be it Superman, which is the Ubermensch, anything, the Spider-Man, which is the way elites refer to us as the spinning, weaving spiders, is like a slur on humanity. There is nothing that they've done from Thor to any of their superheroes that isn't ancient knowledge. So once you wake up, and I say wake up, being you suddenly go, all right, then we're living in a script and we're being exploited with old stories. Once you listen to the comics out there and the stories, that especially Marvel movies and DC comics, these things are old stories being told to you again to reiterate whatever the narrative causes in the future. they seem to know it's obviously a positive for them. And I say them being the people that run this kind of show that we're going through. But yeah, there's nothing under the sun that's new. It's all old. Anyway, Silas, you keep speaking. I will disappear.
Well, no, I was just going to mention as well, really quickly, Manly P. Hall stated, symbolism is the language of the mysteries. By symbols, men have ever sought to communicate to each other those thoughts which transcend the limitations of language. And then he also states, when the human race learns to read the language of symbolism, a great veil will fall from the eyes of man, or eyes of men. That's, in truth, that's what this is all about.
100% true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Once you can read the symbols, you understand the conspiracy.
When you drive on the roads now, from where I live to Sydney, you've got the speed zones are 110, so you've got the 11s on either side of the road. You've got the next town will be come up as 33 miles or 33 kilometres away. They're literally in front of your face. Not only is it the car load, it's the speed zones. It's 90 or 111. 110 rather. So you got 911s everywhere. So they know that somehow these numbers, these ancient symbols actually do control us and our subconscious. And this is collective unconscious or collective subconscious, going through Freud or, all of the subconscious stuff that we've been brainwashed with. It obviously works. Whatever they're doing, whatever stories and whatever, they seem to understand whatever it is, it works to change our what would you call it?
Our perception. It changes perception. Yeah,
our perception. It changes our perception, and to control a whole regional area, you need to use these magic numbers. And once you spot the magic numbers, you cannot unspot the magic numbers. That's all I can say.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to go
and 110, 911. Yeah, you're right on time, Rick.
Yeah, that was. Thanks, Ab. Ab, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And Silas, look, we've got to do something more subject of the esoteric knowledge, because you have you're nailing stuff, and I'm very lucky to know Moon Harvest, and not far from where I live now. He's only a few years older than you, but he's got that ability to be able to understand deep level esoteric knowledge that most people cannot grasp. And I find it fascinating to be able to have a conversation with someone that's 30 years younger than me. In your case, I would say. It's fantastic. And I bow to your greater knowledge about this stuff, to make you focused on that. I scatter my knowledge about it all over the place. But a pleasure, and Ab, thank you very much for the platform. Be told I'll be back on Saturday night next week. Be told.
Did you get any good emails, or are you just getting the same old stuff from JF1? He always likes to shout out.
He's so funny. I sent him a threatening message from Klaus Schwab saying that if he's hoarding, I said, if you're hoarding tuna, that we've created a drone that seeks and can detects tuna hoarders, you'll be executed in the future by hoarding more than 10 cans of tuna. That's what he's doing. He's actually sending messages saying how cheap tuna is because he's hoarding food. So I sent him a funny message. I don't know if he took it seriously or not. I would say he didn't. But
yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, he sends us a lot of stuff. It's okay. Rick at Fakeologist.com.
It's incredible. It's incredible how many messages I get from that guy.
Yeah.
Very funny.
It's almost like a stream of consciousness.
Like, well, yeah, whatever. Anyway,
All right, Rick,
a pleasure.
Take care.
And
thank you,
always,
Rick.
always a pleasure.
Thank you very much, man. It's been a pleasure.
There goes Rick. I think we can use that. That was good.
You couldn't, yeah? Ooh.
I'm going to use that.
Awesome.
Wow.
So let's
That
get
was
on
good.
with
Well
it.
done.
I would like to ask whether Silas Guthier, it's a nice Scottish name, believes that magic is being used again. Or perhaps it never went away. Or perhaps it's just a rabbit hole that they successfully wasted people's time with for many, many, especially during the Dark Ages. And, well, forever. And now we're wasting our time.
Okay, let him answer. Let him answer, man.
But I haven't formulated a question because I've got to go and get a drink.
It's too long. Your question is too long. Sounds like a monologue.
It's a run-on question.
Is that? Sorry, I picked you up incorrectly there. I think. Were you referring to magic?
Yes.
Yes.
He wants to know if they're using magic today.
The symbols. Hold on. The manipulation, the symbols, all the stuff, all the gear we know, all the scholastic. Because you strike me as a bit of a scholar of these. And I suppose
He is a scholar.
Yeah, definitely, man. But you know, you could be getting, as I say, you could be getting the wrong shit. So far,
okay, formulate a succinct question. Ask a succinct question of Silas. My God.
Give him what you know. I'm not a lawyer.
Can you ask him a question?
Yes, I will do. Right. So all these things that you study and, you know, you've got a handle on. What's going on there? And you've got a handle on. Do you think the people possibly our age know something's going on in the back?
Oh, my God.
They're like the SAS, right? And they could be, because they're only up the road. They could be on manoeuvres in the backyard. I wouldn't know. Got the window open.
Radios around the world are clicking on.
What I'm saying is magic never went away.
Great comedy right here. I mean, where else are you going to find this?
Yeah.
Serious issue.
Oh, yeah. This is...
Silas was
nowhere.
What he knows. He knows more shit about it than I do. And I've been doing a ritual.
You know about shit.
We got a leading researcher with a drunk in the Midlands trying to ask a question. I mean, this is...
I'm listening intently. I'm trying to, pick out the question.
Trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
You're trying to find the diamond in the pile of crap that you're getting. I got it.
Well, I think
somewhere.
The main points that Typo was, alluding to was what's magic. So magic with a K at the end is, in essence, psychological warfare in its most fundamental sense. It's the changing of one's perception. That's what ritualism is. It's what all the rituals surrounding these alchemical psychodramas or the media narratives are. It's changing one's perception. You change one's perception, you alter the information or manipulate or regulate the information that one sees. You change their environment because the environment is information. So that's what magic is. It's not about, hocus pocus, abracadabra. Even that term abracadabra, it derives from an Aramaic, a compound Aramaic word, avra kedavra, which means I create what I speak, or I create the four worlds via speech, meaning rhetoric, or changing one's opinions on something, persuading someone, even underhandedly as they do. That's all a form of magic. And of course, he mentioned how, all of what I look at may be incorrect. It may be. A lot of the evidence that I'm finding, I will read the books of the esoteric, the Kabbalah, even, of course, the exoteric as well, the revealed religions. And what you're attempting to see is the patterns So it's pattern recognition. It's evidence via confluence. So if something intersects, so for example, as we were discussing, Ab, with Rick and Frank, the owl, the symbol of the owl, and decoding that, and that's based on, multiple layers going back thousands of years of mythology, and then you tie that in with the history or the historicity of this conspiracy and how it's developed over time, and then again you get a sort of a picture based on pattern recognition, a picture based on confluence. So that's generally it.
That's a good answer.